Under the pale moonlight, a weary traveler named Emma walked alone along the deserted city streets. Unbeknownst to her, a malevolent entity, a being not of this world, lurked in the shadows, drawn to her vulnerable state. With each step, her heart quickened, sensing an unseen presence closing in. As Emma quickened her pace, a series of inexplicable phenomena unfolded around her. Streetlights flickered ominously, casting distorted shadows that seemed to dance in unnatural ways. Shadows of tendrils cascade around her, lit by the moonlight. A chilling wind whispered eerie promises of danger. The entity, a creature of shimmering darkness, pursued her relentlessly, hungry for her life force. Emma's heart raced as she darted through narrow alleys and dimly lit passages, desperately seeking refuge. In her peripheral vision, she saw shadow-like tentacles trying to wrap around her. In a sheer boost of adrenaline, she narrowly avoided the entity's outstretched tendrils, its form shifting and contorting with each failed attempt to capture her. Fear gripped her, but a spark of determination ignited within, urging her to keep fighting. Just as Emma believed she had outsmarted her pursuer, she stumbled upon an abandoned warehouse, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. She entered cautiously, believing she had found sanctuary. However, within the warehouse, she discovered a hidden laboratory, large glass enclosures filled with smoke wisping around. It became clear that she had stumbled upon the entity's trap, a carefully laid plan to ensnare her. Emma's heart sank as she realized the true nature of her pursuit. The entity, far more intelligent than she had imagined, had orchestrated the entire chase to lure her into this trap. The laboratory hummed with unearthly machinery and pulsating energy, hinting at a dark purpose. Panic coursed through Emma's veins as she heard what sounded like whispering behind her. A faint and incoherent noise was emitting from the entity who'd followed her inside. Emma, looking around, saw there was no other way out. All the other entrances were either too far away or were barricaded. Emma knew she had to try and fight to escape its clutches. Driven by desperation, Emma confronted the entity head-on. The entity stood tall in the form of a human floating off the ground. The effigy was surrounded by wisps of dark black smoke formed into tendrils moving in every direction. Emma was determined to fight for her life. With every resource at her disposal, she attempted to strike the effigy, but the entity proved formidable, adapting to her tactics. The entity evaded every attack. Every time she attempted to strike, the entity engulfed her fists with its burning tendrils. It seemed that victory would forever elude her grasp. Emma saw a room to her side. It was dimly lit, but the door was open. Emma wasn't sure of this ghostly figure's abilities, so she took her chances and ran inside. Behind her, the entity stood still, as if to let her enter. At this point, Emma was confused and panicking. She was unsure of anything she had seen, unaware of what her next move may be. She scanned the room around her. A filing cabinet sat next to a computer. Other than that, the room was mostly bare. The only other thing she could see in her scan was a dagger on the wall, the ornate handle covered in unpolished aged gold and jewels. She ran over to the cabinets, but with every drawer she opened, there was nothing. In one drawer was a file, but all the pages were covered in a thick black tar. She then looked at her hands. They, as well, were covered in a thick black substance that burned her skin. Determined to survive, she examined the computer. Only one file was on the desktop, and it was clear there was no internet access. She decided to open the file. Inside was a video. It was only a few seconds long, but she was able to see a man standing in the center of the factory. The floor around him covered with broken glass and a thick black-like smoke exiting the vial. In his hand he held the dagger. He swiftly cut his forearm, the gems from the handle's hilt emanating light. At the same time, the smoky tendrils flew towards the man and were cascaded backwards from the dagger's light. The video abruptly ended. Emma knew this was her last hope. She grabbed the dagger and prepared herself for what was next. Heart racing, she stood by the door, ready to lift herself from this nightmare. She counted to 3 and slammed the door open. She intended on the effigy standing in front of her, but was in the same place she saw it last, as if it was watching her. Emma needed to know, so she mustered up what strength she could to say,
"Why are you doing this?"
The smoky figure stood there for a moment, and then let out an otherworldly screech while bounding towards Emma. Channeling this newfound strength, Emma sliced open her palm, watching the dagger emit great energy. This sent the effigy from the body it held. From the smoke, a man's body fell to the floor. The body was decomposed and mutilated. Believing she had finally triumphed, she watched the smoke shoot away from the dagger. Emma believed this was the end, but she was mistaken. The smoke then bound towards her at ungodly speeds. This is when she realized this was just another part of the entity's plan. So far, the chase, the fight that ensued, and the computer was all part of its nefarious plot. Emma watched while in a split moment, the smoke enveloped her entire being. She looked down, and the dagger was now emitting a dark purple hue. From all around Emma, smoke poured into her skin as if it was permeable. Emma could feel her mind warping when suddenly it seemed all of the entity's power had been contained inside her. She could then feel a presence within her own mind. The voice stated,
"We are you, and now you are us, a collective of all the souls we have encased."
Emma had the thought to stab herself with the dagger, ending her life, here and now. But as she attempted to, she suddenly felt a surge of pain while her hands remained immobile. Emma tried to scream, but she couldn't move at all. While panicking, she heard the voice again.
"You cannot escape us. We will feed on you until we can be contained no longer. Then you and I will find our next host."
Emma felt her ability to cognitively function slip. This beast of smoke and manipulation was too strong for her to overpower. All Emma could seem to do was watch, as this evil spirit controlled her every move. Dead inside, but stuck for the ride, she watched as the spirit reset its trap. She watched while the entity tricked her loved ones into coming to its laboratory. She watched up until the point that her skin was decomposed, feeling every moment of anguish, both physically and mentally. She even watched as she was finally laid to rest, her soul becoming part of the collective, and her nightmare never ending.